again. But we know one thing right now is that the majority of Hollywood, many actors and actresses representing many different studios in Hollywood, are taking advantage of this situation and politicizing it, dragging Trump at the very middle of it all. And the latest example has a lot to do with, not a shocker at all, Rachel Ziegler, known as Snow White in Disney's Snow White, the Disney live-action remake that failed across the board for the box office.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
I'm getting on across. Hold on. Here. Yeah, hold on.
All right. Congrats,
Can
Rachel.
you believe it? It's only been a few weeks since the shocking incident involving Charlie Kirk. In that short time, Hollywood has managed to turn heartbreak into a spectacle, and the speed at which it happened is almost unbelievable. Celebrities are spinning tragedy into content, transforming grief into political theater, and genuine empathy seems to have taken a backseat to self-promotion. The story itself is unsettling, yes, but what's even more fascinating is watching how quickly the entertainment industry seizes any event to advance a narrative, a platform, or simply their personal brand. It's as if tragedy is now measured in likes and retweets. And at the center of this storm is Rachel Ziegler, who seems to have mastered the art of turning every conversation, no matter how sensitive, into an opportunity to lecture on politics, social issues, and her own experiences.
Now, we know one thing about Rachel Ziegler is that the minute she actually decided to make the marketing campaign, the press tour for Snow White, into a political campaign, into an overall political rant about President Trump at the time, really actually did impact the performance of the Snow White film. There's no doubt about that, and how she also dragged in the whole Gaza and Palestine thing.
But this isn't just about one celebrity's reaction. It's a reflection of a deeper issue that's been simmering in Hollywood for years, and it's only getting worse. What you're about to hear isn't just commentary. It's a look into a culture obsessed with outrage, addicted to spectacle, and increasingly detached from reality. The way Hollywood responded to Charlie Kirk's death is a case study in media manipulation. Within days, every headline, every tweet, every post was spinning the tragedy into a talking point, a debate, or a platform to push agendas.
One thing about Rachel Ziegler right now is that she's once again using the Charlie Kirk assassination as a way to politicize the entire thing and to also go on a long-winded Trump tirade, and how it's also just backfiring even more so on her overall career, if you even want to say she has a career anymore, because let's face it, she's not getting work anymore, especially, from any major motion picture studio out.
Empathy was secondary. Attention was primary. Celebrities with little to no connection to the event suddenly became political commentators, weighing in with statements that often had more to do with their own narratives than the situation itself. Social media amplified the chaos. Algorithms rewarded outrage, and the public, of course, was glued to the spectacle. It's a fascinating, if disturbing, phenomenon. Tragedy isn't just news anymore, it's entertainment. And what's worse, the very people who claim to care about truth and justice often bend that truth to fit their story, their brand, or their social media strategy.
Out there, nobody wants to work with Rachel Ziegler at all. Now, one thing about all of this is that with the assassination of Charlie Kirk causing so many of those in Hollywood to say some of the most offensive things about him and how it's backfiring on many studios, one major development going on now involves more to do with actress Rachel Ziegler, once again using something like the Charlie Kirk assassination as an opportunity to politicize.
It's almost as if Hollywood can't help itself, turning grief into fuel for attention and controversy. And yet, this isn't new. It's just the most extreme example of a trend that's been developing for decades. The moment tragedy strikes, the industry goes into overdrive, and the story quickly becomes less about the victim and more about who can leverage it the fastest. And speaking of leveraging, that brings us to the figure at the center of this latest spectacle, Rachel Ziegler. Rachel Ziegler has become emblematic of Hollywood's obsession with optics over substance. Once celebrated as Disney's shining princess, she went from the peak of young stardom to a career marked by controversy and missteps.
To politicize the entire situation, Zegler delivered the following. I don't know what's more un-American right now, our sitting president or how our sitting president is using the death of this man, Charlie Kirk, to double down on his tariffs, which is wreaking havoc on the film industry. Because that's exactly what is happening, not just with our sitting president, who is abusing his power to engage in unethical deportations.
The Snow White live-action remake may have been intended to cement her status, but instead, it highlighted the challenges of celebrity in the modern age. A few poorly received interviews, some anti-fan comment, and a social media storm were enough to derail a promising trajectory. And now, she's taken center stage in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Her public statements have been dramatic, to say the least, blending politics, personal grievances, and social commentary into one long, emotional tirade.
Argument, we were better off under Biden and Harris, and I don't support any political violence, but this would have never happened under Biden and Harris, and I'm scared as a US citizen right now, not just for our many actors in my line of work, but for everyday hard-working American citizens that really don't know any better right now because they can't pick up a book and learn something for themselves. When I saw what happened to Jimmy Kimmel, that's when I knew Trump was abusing his power and using the death of this young man to taint Democrats and play the victim to war.
She's criticized former presidents, blasted policies, and even linked a tragic death to international film tariffs, leaving the public wondering how any of it connects. Some argue it's performative, others think it's genuine outrage. Regardless, the effect is the same. The narrative shifts from a man's untimely death to a stage for Ziegler's platform. And what's striking is how little self-awareness there seems to be. She's not just making statements, she's turning grief into a spectacle, creating a performance out of tragedy while keeping her audience and critics on edge. But the curious thing is, she isn't the only celebrity who plays this game. Ziegler's behavior highlights a larger pattern. Hollywood often prioritizes image, relevance, and personal branding over empathy, context, or even common sense. In her case, the frustration over tariffs and film policies isn't really about the issues themselves. It's about her own career and opportunities. Studios, for their part, have learned to distance themselves from controversy, leaving talent to navigate the fallout alone. And that's telling. Hollywood claims to care about social justice, equality, and awareness. But when these causes collide with personal profit, career advancement, or public image, priorities shift. This obsession with self-interest isn't isolated, it's systemic. Every tweet, every speech, every post is a calculated move to stay visible, stay relevant, or protect a fragile career. And it's exhausting to watch. The industry that once celebrated storytelling now seems to measure success by outrage and optics. Careers are built or destroyed not on talent, but on how well one navigates the shifting currents of public opinion, social media, and narrative control. For Ziegler, that meant using a real tragedy to make a statement, one that resonated less with the public and more with her own ego. But the irony is, she's far from alone in this. Hollywood has a long history of turning tragedies into soapboxes. Think of Ariana Grande, Katy Perry, Alec Baldwin, and countless others. They've all taken personal or public events and used them to advance an agenda. And every time it happens, the industry claims they're raising awareness, sparking dialogue, or standing up for the oppressed. But the effect is often the opposite: division. Instead of uniting audiences around compassion or empathy, these actions fracture the public, forcing a left versus right debate over grief, politics, and morality. It's predictable, almost ritualistic. Every tragedy becomes a flashpoint for celebrity commentary, and every commentary becomes a lesson in self-promotion. The audience, meanwhile, becomes exhausted. What should be moments of shared humanity turn into spectacle, turning public grief into fodder for social media engagement. And within this pattern, Ziegler is simply the latest example. Her statements, her outrage, and her performative empathy all echo this ongoing trend. It's a pattern that reveals a fundamental truth about Hollywood. It isn't always about entertainment. It's about control, narrative, and relevance. Here's where the story takes a strange turn, because for all the outrage aimed at Trump, politics, or government policies, almost no one in Hollywood seems willing to look in the mirror. The truth is uncomfortable. The industry's biggest problems aren't being caused by politicians. They're being created from within. It's a cycle that's as ironic as it is exhausting. The same actors who post about fighting censorship are often the first to call for someone's cancellation. The same directors who preach about tolerance will quietly blacklist anyone who doesn't echo their talking points. It's not political suppression. It's peer pressure dressed as virtue. And that's what makes Rachel Ziegler's outburst so revealing. Her frustration about Trump, tariffs, and creative oppression would sound more sincere if it wasn't coming from an industry that's been silencing its own voices for years. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a major actor openly disagree with the mainstream Hollywood narrative without being buried by social media backlash? It doesn't happen. Every award speech sounds the same. Every political statement echoes the last. It's a chorus of safe opinions, pre-approved by PR teams and cheered by the same small circle of influencers. And when someone breaks the script, the reaction isn't dialogue, it's digital exile. The irony writes itself. Hollywood claims to be brave, but true courage would mean defending the right to disagree, not just the right to conform. It would mean standing for authenticity, not applause. Yet, here we are watching an industry built on storytelling forget how to tell the truth. The outrage is real, but it's misdirected. They're shouting at presidents and policies when the real censorship, the real fear, lives right in their own studios. This is why Ziegler's reaction struck such a nerve. She wasn't just talking about tariffs or Trump. She was unconsciously exposing the contradiction everyone already saw, but no one wanted to admit. Hollywood doesn't need an enemy to divide itself. It's already doing that perfectly fine on its own. And until the industry realizes that its real battle isn't political, but cultural, until it learns to let go of its obsession with moral superiority, every new controversy will look just like this one: loud, emotional, and ultimately empty. The consequences are clear in audience behavior. Ratings for award shows are declining, box office numbers are faltering, and trust in celebrities is lower than ever. People are tired of the lectures from millionaires about morality, privilege, and politics. They're tired of being guilt-tripped by those who live in mansions, yet speak on behalf of the struggling public. While the average American struggles with inflation, bills, and daily survival, celebrity outrage often focuses on irrelevant issues like film locations, industry tariffs, or political talking points. This disconnect isn't just frustrating, it's alienating. Viewers are walking away, and the industry is noticing. Engagement doesn't always equate to loyalty. While social media rewards loud voices, the long-term effect is erosion of trust, credibility, and audience connection. People want entertainment, storytelling, and authenticity, not moral lectures wrapped in controversy. And Ziegler, with her very public rants, is a case study in why audiences are increasingly checking out. Ultimately, Rachel Ziegler isn't just a celebrity making mistakes. She's a mirror reflecting the state of Hollywood today, obsessed with politics. Addicted to outrage and largely divorced from reality, she embodies the industry's broader problems. A man's tragic death becomes a stage for personal branding. Empathy is replaced by performance. Ego overshadows awareness. Her Disney-era stardom is over, not just because of one film or one controversy, but because the industry she inhabits rewards spectacle over substance. Hollywood has moved on to its next woke icon, Audiences are done with performative outrage. And Ziegler's career is now a cautionary tale about what happens when celebrity meets culture of self-interest and hypocrisy. Tragedy, politics, and public opinion are no longer separate. They are tools, platforms, and currencies. And for anyone watching, the lesson is clear. Hollywood isn't just telling stories anymore. It's performing them, often at the expense of truth, empathy, and connection. As audiences walk away, the industry is left with a choice: continue chasing outrage, or reconnect with the reality of the people they claim to represent.